We welcome you to the TexanLive.com studios. I'm Chase Snyder alongside Gavin Moritz. And joining us today remotely will be Breanna, Bryson, and Trevor Bullard. But today we're starting off with the Texas high school football products from the city of Houston. It's going to be an exciting time today with the coronavirus, only doing it remotely. But we're staying safe and healthy, and Gavin, should be a fun night.
And Chase, one thing we talked about is how this could be potentially the most watched NFL draft ever, because it's virtual and there's essentially no other sports going on. So I think it'll be an exciting one, and I think the ratings should be through the roof.
We're going to start with Jalen Hurts from Channelview High School. Of course, went to Alabama, then transferred to Oklahoma. Projected in the second and third round. Of course, he went to Channelview. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Coming up next will be Patrick Taylor from Atascocita. Went to Memphis, looking to be the first Atascocita player in the NFL. You went to Atascocita. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, Patrick Taylor played there my freshman year, so I didn't get to see him play in person too long, but when I did, he was really impressive. I believe he's the all-time leading rusher for Atascocita. Went to Memphis along with one of his receivers, Coy Fairman. Patrick Taylor, like we said, looking to be the first Atascocita player to be drafted. There are a couple more that are coming up in the next few years. Sam Cosme at UT plays offensive line, as well as Kenyon Green at A&M, who started at guard for A&M as a true freshman last season. So Atascocita's got some guys coming up in the future that could be drafted, but Patrick Taylor Jr. looking to be the first one this weekend.
Let's watch him from 2016.
They'll motion shorts from left to right. Turn, handoff, Taylor Jr. runs off tackle right, cuts it inside, 40, 45, now looks for the sideline across the 50, 45, 30, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, and he is in. Patrick Taylor Jr. takes it in from 64 yards away.
Smith with his first catch of the evening. Waiting for the snap is Boyd. He'll hand the ball off to Taylor. Taylor taking it up the middle, and he finds a couple of holes. And
from the 10-yard line, here they go. A quick pass out to Taylor Jr. He's got it, avoids a tackle, into the end zone. Patrick Taylor Jr. pulls the Eagles a little bit closer after that catch and run from Davion Boyd. Here, go ahead and go for it. Taylor with a run, virtually untouched, and Atascocita's in the end zone for the first time today, and they got their first lead of this game.
Pitches out Taylor there. Taylor got a little seam, cuts back upfield. He may go the distance. He's at the 50. It's a foot race right there. 30, 20. Going to be taken out of bounds right at the 10-yard line.
Taylor Jr. going to get it again. He's going to dive forward. Where's the indication? There it is. Taylor Jr. makes it a hat trick. Atascocita extends this lead.
Taylor in the pistol with him. Going to hand off to Taylor. He got a blocker out front. Campbell gets the edge right there. Breaks it back inside. And he's going to almost get in right there. Looks like you haven't seen this one. Hand off the back right there. Cuts back inside. That's Patrick Taylor finishing off after his big run right there.
Now on to the other Humble ISD running back, Shewo Lanalua. Went to Kingwood High School, projected mid-late round draft choice. Gavin, trying to follow Travis Swanson into the NFL.
Travis Swanson played center for the Lions for many years, and Shewo went to TCU, as we mentioned, went to Kingwood. And Chase, you probably got to see a little bit of him.
I did. He graduated 2016, graduated 2018. I myself did. It's a lot of fun watching him play. Let's watch some of the highlights from TexanLive.com.
On the football field, you at the dealership. 9:03 left to play in the third. 7-6 Mustang lead. Pitch out to Shaywu. Left sideline. Hurdles a man on the numbers. Rolls forward. He's tripped up. Brought down inside the 10. Terrence Wu's there as well. Turn. Handoff. Shaywu has a blocker in front right side. And he reaches for the goal line. And he is in. Shaywu from 8 yards out. There he has Young directly behind him. Shaywu to the left shoulder of Young. One receiver split out wide left. Motion man is Lay. Handoff Shaywu up the middle. Cuts inside for the first down. Now he's at the 10-5 and lunges into the end zone as he sheds Eagles along the way to find Haydirt from 17 yards out and adding to the Mustang lead.
And must.
Here's Kingwood on the run up the middle. He's going to take this one down. Up the field, and he's got it. Touchdown, Kingwood.
I can tell.
Sewu Alanalua with a touchdown.
On the screen pass. They're bouncing outside. Touchdown Mustangs, number 33, Shaywu Alanalua.
That brings us to Antoine Winfield Jr., the defensive back who went to Minnesota, played at the Woodlands High School. We have a couple games from him. Could be one of the first few safeties taken, either projected to go in the first round or the second round.
And I think he's one of the top 3 safeties in the draft, along with Grant Delpit from LSU and Xavier McKinney from Alabama. And Winfield, as we know, played in the NFL or his dad played in the NFL for a long time for the Minnesota Vikings, and we'll look at some of the highlights from him from TexanLive.com.
Thank God his one play was a good one. So I'll go to Kaylavon Chason, who of course went to North Shore, part of that 2015 North Shore State Championship winning squad. First one for John Kay. Went to LSU, he's projected to go in the middle of the first round.
And he had a really big game in that state game against Westlake and against Sam Ellinger, the quarterback for University of Texas now, a very talented Westlake team, and he actually made the game-winning tackle on 4th and goal, if you remember that play. And that was a great game and a great showing by Chason, and we'll look at some of his highlights.
Time to give us to Hill, but right there to meet him. Number 19, once again, Chason for North Shore.
During the third quarter here on Texan Live. 3 receivers in the lineup, 2 to the wide side left. Screen pass is picked off. What a play! And taking it for a pick 6. 11, Chason.
Twins each side, Boyd in the gun. Here comes the pressure, steps up, to be hit from behind and brought down. The ball comes loose. Scramble.
That brings us to our last player, C.D. Lamb. Pretty good Texas high school football career, as well as a great career at Oklahoma. Supposed to be the first wide receiver drafted tonight.
And C.D. Lamb had over 3,000 yards in his couple seasons at Foster High School. Down in Richmond, he had, I believe, 48 touchdowns in 2 or 3 seasons, and we had a game against Dripping Springs where he scored, 3 or 4 touchdowns?
I think 5. Over 300 yards. Let's take a look at some of those highlights.
103 tackles, 8 sacks on the year.
No high safety on the right side.
Back to throws. Rammert looking across the middle. Has his man. That's caught by Lamb at the 40, 30. Lamb off to the races. 20, 15, 10. 5 end zone. Touchdown Falcons. Just like that, C.D. Lamb gets his 28th receiving touchdown of the year as Alex Rammert hits him.
We just said no high.
Eagling to the right. Snap.
screen to Spades. They try to wide receiver option, and it's complete into the end zone. Touchdown, Cedarian Lamb, and that ball had no business being thrown, no business being caught.
3 to go in this opening quarter.
Tigers stacking the box here.
Rammer back to throw. Throws right side, looking for Lamb, hits Lamb in stride. Lamb breaks a tackle. 20, 15, 10, 5. He strides into the end zone for his third receiving touchdown of the afternoon, and Foster is piling it on.
Another bad match.
Rammer to throw, right side, looking for CeeDee Lamb. Lamb goes up, comes down with an amazing touchdown. His 5th receiving touchdown of the game. What a catch by CeeDee Lamb, the Oklahoma commit.
That play is high spiral punt. Lamb will field it at the 20. Running to the right side, 25, who blocking the back. Cross the 40, midfield, only one guy to beat. Makes them both miss down the sidelines. He goes 10, 5, touchdown Lamb. And the Falcons 80-yard touchdown punt return by Lamb. The high safety is, does he go to the outside? Does he stay in the middle? Right now he's at the hash and he just went inside. Lamb's going to be wide open.
Rammer to throw, end zone, touchdown, CeeDee Lamb. Lamb once again wide open in the end zone.
The throw is going to be downfield, getting behind his defender. That catch is made at the 15-yard line, able to just run it into the end zone untouched. After that, again, it's Cedarian Lamb.
Well, Cedarian Lamb has single coverage, and that's bad news for Tom Ball. Usually the safety would roll over and help out, but Mark on that play was single coverage, and Lamb just beat it.
It's pretty strange to be
manageable third down, 3rd and 7 from the 22. Rammer rolls out to the left, looking for Lamb. Lamb wide open in the back corner of the end zone, makes the catch, touchdown Foster.
Boy, is that a mismatch. Matt O'Neal, the linebacker, on CeeDee Lamb. You know,
CeeDee Lamb was pretty good. He was, especially his speed, man. After the catch, one of the most explosive players in this draft.
And if we saw him in the game against LSU in the playoffs this past year, even though Oklahoma lost, he had a really impressive showing against a very talented LSU secondary.
Jesse, is it time to bring them in?
Yeah, we might have to go and do that back over with CeeDee Lamb. And then you can bring them in and say, hey, we got a couple guests that are going to come in.
Okay, so just say, like, what we just...
Yeah, just do it like stop, like what we just did that.
Okay.
Start back out, like, oh, CeeDee Lamb, what impressive, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then say, hey, we got a couple of guests that we're going to have come in, and then say who they are.
Gotcha.
Something about them, that kind of thing.
All right, I'll take it from there. Boy, was CeeDee Lamb exciting to watch at Foster High School.
And Chase, we saw him in the playoffs against LSU against a star-studded Tigers secondary, and he just absolutely lit them up. Even though they lost the game, Joe Burrow, as we know, threw 7 touchdowns, and it was impressive showing by Lamb in his entire college career, let alone his high school career, just really impressive.
It's now time to bring in our special guests. Trevor Bullard, Texan Live broadcaster and Texan Live play-by-play man. Trevor, how you doing today?
Doing a pretty good, Chase. It's a beautiful day outside and so ready to talk some football.
Where are you right now?
I'm currently in Eagle Lake, Texas. It's a little small town, about 45 minutes west of Katy.
Well, I'm glad that you took a break from painting the deck to come join us and talk some football.
It's a lot more fun.
I agree. And we now welcome on Breanna, Bryson, Texan Live sideline reporter. Breanna, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are y'all?
You know, we're just hanging in there. We're just talking ball.
Doing good.
Nothing better to do. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Gavin Moritz did a nice little mock draft for us. Gavin, why don't you take us through the first 8 picks?
Okay, with the first pick, the Bengals are going to take Joe Burrow, the quarterback from LSU. In my opinion, he's the best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. One of the best individual seasons ever that we've seen, which culminated in a national championship. The Bengals have an obvious need at quarterback with the recent play of Andy Dalton, and he's a face of the franchise kind of guy that I think can lead the Bengals for a long time.
With this, no arguments. I think we know the first 2 picks.
The second pick is more or less as obvious as the first. The Redskins, who have had offers to trade down, I think they stay in their spot, and they take Chase Young from Ohio State. He's the best overall player, I think, in the entire draft, which I think most people can agree with. I think he's arguably the best edge prospect we've seen since Von Miller, if not Joey Bosa. And then I think many offers to trade down, but I think Young is well worth the pick.
Bengals, Redskins, both chalk. Now this is where it gets interesting.
So I think with the third pick, we see a trade. I think the Detroit Lions are going to trade down. I think trading up will be the Miami Dolphins. And with the third pick, the Miami Dolphins are going to select Justin Herbert, quarterback from Oregon. This is where it gets fun.
Okay. Who are you guys taking, Herbert or Tua? Trevor, you go first.
I'm going to go with Herbert. He was the consensus, number one last year. Or maybe not consensus, but a lot of people thought he'd be the number one quarterback in the draft. He stayed for that senior year. He got a Rose Bowl out of it and a Pac-12 championship, so you can't really doubt him there. But, he drops down a little bit. Obviously, Joe Burrow's the number one. So, I would pick with Herbert. Tua's got the injury that he had earlier. I know, he has the bigger upside, but sometimes you just got to go with the safer pick.
Breanna, you're up.
I want to agree, but I'm gonna go Tua. I mean, I know there's that injury in play. He's obviously overcome that well. But
ready?
Yes.
Pick number 4.
So pick number 4. So let's say Burrow's gone, Young's gone, and Dolphins trade up to take Herbert. With the fourth pick, I think the Giants stay in their spot. I think they have a lot of needs, especially on the defensive side, but I think they stick. With offensive line, I think they take Tristan Wirfs, the tackle from Iowa. They have a huge need, so they pass on Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker/safety, to take the offensive line and upgrade that. They have to protect last year's investment in Daniel Jones, and he's a plug-and-play kind of guy. They can play him at left or right tackle and then move around Nate Solder, who they invested in about 2 years ago.
Pick number 5, Jeff Okuda from Ohio State.
So the Lions trade back. And they trade into the Miami spot. Miami moves up, and Jeff Okuda from Ohio State is the pick. The Lions have loved this guy the whole time, the entire draft process. He's been linked to them at the third pick. I think they trade back, and I think they still get their guy. There's an obvious need. They traded Darius Slay to Philadelphia about a month or two ago, so they have a need at corner, and he's the best defensive back in the draft.
Best Texas high school football prospect in the draft, right? No question?
I would agree.
No question about it.
Nope.
Trevor.
In total agreement.
Okay, there we go.
So 6th overall, the Los Angeles Chargers, who stick in their spot. They have a need at quarterback, and they take Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama.
Nice drum roll.
Thank you.
Really nice. I want Tua over to Herbert, and there's no way that the Dolphins are trading up for an offensive tackle. It's the worst smokescreen I've ever seen.
Bad smokescreen.
It's the worst smokescreen I've ever seen. Tua to the Chargers. Trevor, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to sell tickets, and, they're going to be moving into the new stadium. They were hoping for Tom Brady. Obviously, he went to Tampa Bay. So you need something to sell tickets, and I think even though Tua is obviously a long way from college, he's from Hawaii, so that's the closest hometown team for his hometown. So it'd be a great way to sell tickets, and I think that's the right pick for LA.
I'm still going to stay set on Miami taking Tua at 3. That trade.
Okay, so with the 7th pick, we have the Carolina Panthers selecting linebacker Isaiah Simmons from Clemson. I think he's a pure athlete, and he's just fast enough to play linebacker and box safety if they want to bring him in blitz packages. And I think Matt Rule gets his first defensive star under his belt.
Number 8, Arizona Cardinals taking Jedrick Wills from Alabama.
They have a glaring need up front, and I think they have to protect Kyler in the pocket if they want to run the system that they want to run. It's a system with Cliff Kingsbury where you throw the ball constantly, and you have to have good pass protection, so I think you take the best offensive tackle that's left available.
Second quarterback taken in this draft, number 9, Atlanta Falcons trading up with the Jacksonville Jaguars taking C.J. Henderson.
From Florida, the Falcons need secondary help. They take the best corner available. He's a great cover corner right behind Okuda, and he's the replacement for Desmond Trufant.
Going 10th, Andrew Thomas from Georgia to the Cleveland Browns.
The Browns have been linked to Trent Williams for a couple weeks now. Offensive tackle is a need. Let's say they don't trade for Trent Williams. I think they have to take Andrew Thomas here, and so rather than trade for Trent, they go younger and they go cheaper.
Number 11, New York Jets taking CeeDee Lamb, the first wide receiver taken in the draft. Breanna, CeeDee Lamb, first wide receiver taken. Good or bad?
I absolutely agree. He's got to be the first wide receiver taken. I think that's a good move for Cleveland, and we'll go with you on that one.
Trevor, you.
Yeah, CD. He's maybe Jerry Jeudy might be a little more polished, but CD's got the more upside. Obviously, the yards after the catch, and it'd be great to pair him with Darnold. Darnold doesn't have a lot of weapons. I mean, he's got Le'Veon Bell out of the backfield, but it'd be great for him to have a number one receiver, and I think CD's the best pick for the Jets.
So I think that if the Jets don't take CeeDee Lamb, I don't think he makes it past the next pick, because I've heard the Raiders absolutely love CeeDee Lamb, but let's say he's not there for Las Vegas. What do? I think you trade back, you acquire some more picks, you let the Denver Broncos trade up into the 12th spot and take Henry Ruggs III from Alabama. And Chase, we've talked, Henry Ruggs is my favorite player in the entire draft. I think he's electric, incredibly fast. I think he has the potential to be an absolute star in the NFL. What are you guys' takes?
I actually like Jerry Jeudy more than Henry Ruggs if we're talking about Alabama receivers. Obviously, Ruggs has got the speed, but I've just seen more that I've liked from Jerry Jeudy watching a bunch of Alabama games the past couple years. Obviously, Jeudy won the Biletnikoff Award, not this past year, but in 2018. And I don't know, he just looks like a better prospect. And I think that'd be the right pick instead of Henry Ruggs. Also be good to pair him, take some pressure off Cortland Sutton.
I think that'd be good. So we have Henry Ruggs gone. Next pick, the 13th overall, the San Francisco 49ers are going to select Javon Kinlaw, defensive lineman from South Carolina. They acquired the pick from the Colts in the DeForest Buckner trade. The Niners take a top player that's left available, and he should start soon, even in a crowded defensive line room with Eric Armstead, Joey Bosa, and Solomon Thomas, who was the 3rd overall pick a couple years ago. Tampa Bay, 14 overall, Trevor, your boy, Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. I think the Bucs are in a win-now mentality, and I think they take the best receiver available, give Tom Brady even more weapons, even with the Gronk trade earlier this week on Tuesday. They've got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, O.J. Howard, and now Gronk, and we'll throw Jeudy in the mix just for fun.
That is going to be a scary team. I mean, let's say, Jerry Jeudy goes before, then they'll more than likely pick Ruggs, and then you got a speedster to complement Evans and Godwin. So Tampa Bay, they're going to be fun to watch this next year.
All right, so the 15th pick, Las Vegas Raiders, they traded back with Denver. So at the 15th spot, I think they take Mekhi Becton from Louisville. They get offensive line help for Derek Carr in a division with Bosa and Von Miller coming off the edge. He's one of the top players available, and he was an athletic freak at the Combine, absolutely stole the show. And it's rare for an offensive lineman to do so, but he did just that. We move to 16, the Jacksonville Jaguars via the Atlanta Falcons. With the trade back, they traded out of the 9 spot, so the Falcons come up and take C.J. Henderson. The Jaguars fall back a little bit, take the next corner available, that's A.J. Terrell from Clemson. They take what should be a starter in a cornerback room, headlined by only A.J. Boye. They need defensive line help, but they also need a replacement for Jalen Ramsey, who they traded to the Rams. And I do think Terrell needs time to develop and learn, but I think he's a good pick here. Next up, we have the 17th overall pick.
They lost
the Dallas Cowboys are going to select edge rusher K'Lavon Chaisson from LSU, who we talked about earlier, one of our favorite Houston prospects in this draft. He's the second one gone. The Cowboys need defensive line depth. He's a freak that uses athleticism to get around the offensive tackles, and the pick could be a defensive back here, but I think Jerry and Stephen Jones get a premier pass rusher. We'll rattle off the next couple picks. The Lions, with the trade back in Miami, they acquire the 18th overall pick. They take Derek Brown, the defensive tackle from Auburn. 19, the Raiders take Trevon Diggs from Alabama in an area of need for them. He's a good athlete that can play multiple roles in the defensive backfield. 20th pick, the Jaguars via the Rams in the Jalen Ramsey trade. They take Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver from LSU. Trevor, you probably got to see Justin Jefferson play a little bit last year, especially in the college football playoff. What is your take on Jefferson?
Well, in the playoff, that first game against Oklahoma, I mean, he only had like 4 touchdowns. I don't know if that's pretty good or not. I think that's okay. But he's a freak, and honestly, I think he's better than Jamar Chase. Now, Chase, obviously going to be at LSU another year, so we'll see how he does on that end. But I think Jefferson's a great pick. You could argue he's the third best receiver third best receiver in this first round of talent. Obviously, Lamb and Judy are ahead, and then y'all like Ruggs more, but I think Ruggs and Jefferson could be tied for that third place spot. So I think Jefferson's a great pick, just a stud receiver.
Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at 21. They're going to take linebacker Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. I think the Eagles could use a wide receiver, but with Jefferson gone, I think Murray could be the pick, although I do see them potentially, if they don't take Murray, I think they could take Jalen Reagor from TCU. And Chase, we have him going next, 22nd overall, the Minnesota Vikings.
Replacement, of course, for Stephon Diggs with the Bills pick, ironically. Speedy wide receiver to pair with Adam Thielen, more weapon for Kirk Cousins and Gary Kubiak's offense. Trevor, a penny for your thoughts.
I'm actually liking a cornerback for the Vikings. They do need to replace Xavier Rhodes, and I know, they want to get someone to help with that Gary Kubiak offense, get another weapon for Kirk Cousins. But I really think, Mike Zimmer is a defensive coach, so he's going to look at more defensive players. We'll see who's available for him, but I really think the Vikings are going to take a cornerback with this pick.
Good thing they had another pick at 25, but before that, we'll go to the 23rd. The New England Patriots are going to select tight end Cole Met from Notre Dame. They lose Gronk via retirement last year, and then they trade his rights to Tampa Bay, so he is gone from New England. They don't have a tight end. They need a security blanket and a guy for a developing quarterback in Jared Stidham, as well as a potential draft pick later on in the later rounds, maybe the second or the third, and I believe he's the top tight end in this class.
Trevor, you think they're not going QB?
New England?
New England, yeah.
I'm really thinking Jordan Love.
I'm thinking Jordan Love too.
On Stidham. He's really unproven. And that's, I'll use an example. I'm thinking Jimmy Johnson, what happened in the 1990s when they had Troy Aikman, but he picked up another quarterback, which was Steve Walsh, just to put that pressure on him. Obviously, we saw what happened to Troy Aikman when he had that pressure. He got 3 Super Bowls. So I think Jordan Love obviously has a lot of upside and puts the pressure on Stidham. So I think that's the way that the Patriots are going to go.
We'll have a little bit more fun later with the Jordan Love pick. I have a surprise for you, Trevor, with that one. This will be fun. 24th overall, we'll speed through these next couple ones. The New Orleans Saints select Jalen Johnson from Utah. I think he's an under-the-radar cornerback, one of the best players left available in this first round. I think Jordan Love could also find his home here with New Orleans if they want to get Drew Brees' replacement already. Drew Brees signing the contract with NBC Sports.
I appreciate you bringing that up because I was actually talking about it with Bree earlier today, and we're working on a technical issue with Bree. She's out in the boondocks, her words. For some reason, Trevor, I haven't heard much talk about New Orleans taking a quarterback because, like Gavin said, the writing's on the wall for Brees' last season in New Orleans as he's already signed a broadcasting contract with NBC. Why aren't we hearing more about New Orleans potentially taking a developmental quarterback in the late first or late second?
That's a curious question, Chase, because obviously you also lose last year's backup in Teddy Bridgewater signing that deal with Carolina. So, I'm honestly with you. I'm curious why New Orleans hasn't talked about a quarterback. And even Sean Payton, he let it slip that it's Drew Brees' last year, and then he went back on his comments. But Drew Brees is getting up there. Obviously, one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. He has all these statistical records, but he's getting up there in age, and I think everyone feels this is it. This is his last shot to to win a ring. He wants to get two. Last couple of years have just been heartbreaking, and I think that I'm really surprised New Orleans hasn't thought about a quarterback, and I'm with you. I'm just stumped on it.
Next up, 25 of the Minnesota Vikings backup. They take the edge, Yetur Gross-Matos from Penn State. They have a wide receiver need that's already taken care of with the Jalen Reagor pick, and their other need is an edge opposite Daniil Hunter. Next up, we have 26th overall, the Miami Dolphins via the Houston Texans. They take Austin Jackson, the tackle from USC. They protect their investment in Justin Herbert up front. Next up, Trevor, the 27th pick, Seattle Seahawks, trade back with the Green Bay Packers, who move up to select Jordan Love from Utah State. I figured we have a little fun here. I think Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. I think a new coach. I think Rodgers is slowing down a little bit these last couple of seasons. It's a surprise pick, but they trade up for eventual Rodgers successor. I think if he sits under Rodgers for a couple of years, I think Jordan Love can turn into a star in this league. And I think he sits and learns behind a Super Bowl quarterback and an MVP.
And later, Aaron Rodgers is later on in his career than Brett Favre was. He's entering his 16th season, if that you can even believe that. I didn't see this coming from Gavin. If I had to rank who will be seeing someone coming up in the later first round, talking New England, New Orleans, maybe Indianapolis trading up. We'll get to that in a moment. Someone else trading up. Green Bay trading up to take Jordan Love. Trevor, what do you think?
I'm pretty surprised. Personally, I think Love will be gone. I said I think New England's going to pick him. And I agree with you on the New Orleans thing. I think if he's not New England, he'll go to New Orleans. But with what you're saying, Gavin, you got a sound argument with, staying behind Rodgers. I can't believe Rodgers is playing since 2005. I mean, he obviously didn't start till 2008, but amazing that he's been in the league that long. Doesn't feel like it. But anyway, you get that Super Bowl MVP, league MVP to kind of mentor you. Kind of what happened with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. So if that's what it comes down to, I do think Jordan Love would be a good pick for the Packers if they trade up and take that pick from Seattle. If Seattle doesn't, I think if Seattle keeps that pick, I think they pick a defensive player, maybe Xavier McKinney. The safety from Bama might be someone for them to look at, if obviously Seattle keeps the pick.
Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens at 28th. They're going to take the linebacker Patrick Queen from LSU. I think he's a steal of the first round. I think he's a top 10 type player. He's extremely fast. He's an agile linebacker who can cover and potentially rush the passer. And they'll pair him up in the linebacking corps with Matthew Judon and Tyus Bowser rushing off the edge. 29, the Tennessee Titans are going to select Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle from Georgia. He's a replacement for Jack Conklin, and I think he's a high need, and they protect your investment in Ryan Tannehill, who we saw this past offseason.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have anything to say. That's, I think, the best pick.
We have 3 picks left, 30, 31, and 32. With the 30th pick, the Seattle Seahawks, via their trade back with Green Bay, they're going to take Cesar Ruiz from Michigan. He's a flexible interior lineman that can be flexed to center or guard. And I think they study under the veteran and recent re-signee Mike Iupati.
As a Chiefs fan, I don't like this pick for Seattle because I love Cesar Ruiz, and I believe personally that's the biggest need for Kansas City, the interior offensive line trying to protect Patrick Mahomes. But Cesar Ruiz going to Seattle, feels like they've always had offensive line help, always needed offensive line help, and they finally get it with Cesar Ruiz.
Next up at 31, we have the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to take offensive tackle Ezra Cleveland from Boise State. I think he's a rising star. I think his stock has recently shot up. A lot of people are saying he could go in this area of the first round. I think that for the Niners it makes sense. They have a need at tackle. All they have is Mike McGlinchey. And we could see a trade here, though. This is a spot where a lot of teams like to trade out of. I think San Francisco could do that. And Chase, with the 32nd pick for the Chiefs, let's say Cesar Ruiz is gone. You could take a defensive back, or, like we've said, you trade out of the spot if you're Kansas City.
I see them either taking a cornerback like Jeff Gladney or them taking a linebacker if Patrick Queen falls. Patrick Queen, they love Patrick Queen. But I'm hopeful that they trade out of this first round because they only have 5 picks and they need to add to it. I'd love to see Cesar Ruiz in a Chiefs uniform, But with the 32nd pick, you have the Colts trading up to take
Jacob Eason, the quarterback from Washington. I think the Colts, I say we have some fun here. I think the Colts trade up and take Eason. They need a quarterback to study under Jacoby Brissett for maybe a couple of years. I think Eason, with development, could be a superstar, much like Jordan Love. I think Indy gets their quarterback of the future, and I think Kansas City 9 times out of 10 will trade this pick tonight, but we'll see what happens. Trevor, your thoughts on the Kansas City trade and the mock draft as a whole?
Well, Gavin, you're forgetting one person that's in Indianapolis still. He just signed a deal with them. Phillip Rivers, that's someone to learn under. I'd rather learn under Phillip Rivers than Jacoby
Trevor,
Brissett.
come on.
Well, yeah, but if I'm a young athlete, I'd rather learn under Phillip Rivers, who's been there a long time, than Jacoby Brissett. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Hey, also Phillip Rivers made the playoffs.
They do have Jacoby Brissett still.
Not this year.
Here's a question for you.
So he's still
Who
got
do
a
you
little
think
bit of
goes
game
first,
in him.
Eason or Hurts?
Okay. That is a good question. I love Jalen Hurts' story, obviously being from the Houston area, we all know his story, getting benched and everything and going to Oklahoma. But I think Eason's a better prospect. But I would prefer, personally, Hurts to go above Eason.
I think he'll be the 5th quarterback taken. If not the 4th. I think there's a lot of teams right now debating between Love and Hurts with their skill set. Eason seems like a safe pick. Do you prefer Eason, or is this just a mock draft? Who you think goes where? Who do you think, Gavin, between Eason, Love, and Hurts?
I prefer Love and then Eason and then Hurts in that order. I think this is a mock draft. This is what I think could happen. I think we tried to have a little bit of fun here with the 32nd pick. Trevor, I do agree with you that they have Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis, but I think Phillip has a year, maybe 2 at the absolute most left. And I think he's fallen off in a couple recent years. Hopefully he can be rejuvenated in Indianapolis, but I think they get their quarterback of the future, and I don't think it's Jacoby Brissett. I think they have to trade up and get someone. If not, maybe take Hurts later on in the 2nd or the 3rd.
Yeah, I can see that. Like you said, Jacoby Brissett, he's a serviceable player, middle of the road, like 17th, 16th, 17th best quarterback in the NFL. But, they're going to need someone for their quarterback of the future. This time last year during draft time, obviously they thought they had their quarterback for the next 10 years, and look where that ended.
We saw Andrew Luck retire before the last season. Stunner.
Can you think of a more unfortunate retirement in NFL history or in sports history?
I think it has to be Barry
Especially
Sanders.
for a franchise? I mean, this is a quarterback we're talking about.
And it's a quarterback who was touted as
the face of your franchise. The face of your franchise, Trevor.
The next great quarterback.
Yeah. He was supposed to be the greatest quarterback ever. But, of course, he's resides in...
Yeah, I can't really think of anyone. They were saying he was the best prospect since Elway, and then, suck for luck, if you remember the Colts 2011 saying that they were all, suck for luck, and now he's gone.
Hate to see it.
Okay, so Trevor, before you go, we have a couple of questions we're going to ask you about the draft. What is your over-under on trades for tonight here in the first round?
Over-under, I think 4. I think Miami does try to trade up and get to that 3rd spot. I mean, they're really wanting to get to that 2nd spot, but Washington's not going to – they're going to pick Chase Young. But I think the over-under is 3.
I heard John Elway talk about it, and it's a very interesting point because everyone is scattered, not only from their cities, but across the entire country with area scouts for different teams scattered around the southeast, southwest, east coast, west coast, whatever. John Elway thinks there will be less trades because they're all not in the same room. It's just one guy talking to another guy. So it could be more complicated for trades this year. But I saw a report earlier today that the Lions have basically penciled themselves in for the 5th overall choice. We think Okuda is going to go there. And the worst smokescreen of all time, maybe I could be wrong, but the worst smokescreen of all time I've ever seen is that the Dolphins want to trade up for an offensive tackle, which makes no sense to me. It has to be for a quarterback, either Tua or Herbert. Trevor, what do you think?
I even saw that they were trying to get the number 1 pick from Cincinnati. Well, that's not going to happen. Joe Burrow,
that has quarterback written
Ohio,
all over to me.
Had the greatest season for college football. Yeah, it's obvious. They're going to pick their first quarterback, I guess, since Andy Dalton. First round quarterback since Carson Palmer when he went number 1 overall in 2003, and then first quarterback I can really think of since Andy Dalton. There's no way Miami trades up or even gets an option to trade up to number 1. It's going to be Burrow.
I think it should be an interesting draft, and I think the ratings we mentioned earlier will be through the roof. Chase, we talked about this earlier. There's no sports on. This is the biggest sports event this time of the year, I believe, and other than the start of baseball, without basketball, without any other sports of any kind, not even golf, we have the NFL draft, and I think this year might be the biggest draft we talked about maybe ever.
And I think it'll reach 10 million viewers. What I was going to say about Miami, I just think they have quarterback written all over them, either Herbert or Tua. I personally would take Tua, even with the injury concerns. If the doctors say he's healthy, I just think he's one of the best athletes we've seen from the quarterback position. Hope he can stay healthy. Dude's a great guy. I don't know. I just don't see it with Herbert as much as I do Tua. And the Dolphins trying to go to number 1, that has quarterback written all over to me. If they can't get Burrow, settle for Tua.
Darn. You were saying the numbers for the draft, you think 10 million. The Last Dance, the Jordan documentary, which premiered on ESPN last week, that had 6 million viewers for episode 1.
6 million viewers for a documentary is unheard of.
I mean, that's insane. So if you're thinking 10 million, I'm thinking 12 or 13 because people are starved for sports. I know you are. Y'all two are. I for sure am.
Yeah.
Yes.
People just want their sports back. Some sense of normalcy.
This is our only source of work right now, Trevor. FaceTiming you.
Exactly.
That's it.
Oh, thanks, Chase.
And beating you in 8-ball.
Such a rip. I'll play you after this.
Oh, I'll text you. I'll text you and beat you in 8-ball again. Perisher wants to get on that too, but he keeps catching these L's. So is Breanna, by the way. Anyway, this turned out better in the end than I thought.
I agree. Had fun.
I had fun too. Trevor, what about you?
I had a good time. It just feels good to talk about some sports and not have to paint a lake house deck.
We struggled in the beginning, but we finally found our groove. And hopefully we can do more of these. We're looking forward to talking with some coaches around the area and around the state. And we're just trying to find any source of content during this tough and difficult time with COVID-19. Stay safe and stay healthy. Gavin, any final thoughts? Trevor, any final thoughts? Gavin, I'll start with you.
Final thoughts, I think it should be a fun draft tonight, and I'm hoping that we get sports back as soon as we can with the safety of everyone involved, in mind. And I'm just looking forward to the rest of, everything that we have going on.
Trevor, final thoughts?
I think, it's going to be great to see just a little bit of normalcy tonight. Should be a fun draft. It's a star-studded draft. Obviously the best receiver draft since, I think, 2014. And I can't wait for it to come on.
Again, apologies to Breanna Bryson for the technical difficulties. We're going to try to do a group Zoom tonight, post-draft on Twitter. That'll be a lot of fun to do. Just like Trevor said, a little sense of normalcy. That's what we're looking for, not only in the sports world, but in the world overall. I want to thank Gavin for the great mock draft, I must say. Great mock draft. I can't wait to review it when we're done tonight. The trades were pretty good, I must say. Pretty good trades. I want to thank Trevor Bullard. I want to thank Breanna Bryson. I want to thank our producer Jesse Wolf, our owner Bert Brocker, from our entire TexanLive.com crew. I'm Chase Snyder signing off from the Texan Live studios in Humble. Stay safe and stay healthy.